Welcome, everybody, to the Lunacy Podcast, brought to you by Roughneck Scars and Golden Gold Press. My name is Tony. I'm here with David Sterling. I'm Tony Pervenanzi. We are coming to you today from Tom and Jan's garage, my in-laws. We decided to do a podcast over here because Tom was one of our first fans who listened to the podcast. Even though he does not like soccer at all, he still listens. So
I'm
over here,
Tom, by the way.
Yeah, so Tom's here with us. Dave Stevens, again on assignment, somewhere in the southern hemisphere. We don't even know where he's at. He's in the outback of Australia somewhere.
Yeah.
We have no idea. So he'll be back on the next pod. He should be back on the next pod, I would think. I think the plan is for him to be back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know.
And then the next pod will be an interesting one because it'll be kind of a weird transition to the Madison trip. So.
Yeah, so we, and this might change depending on our moods, but our next podcast will not be in 2 weeks, it'll be in 3 weeks. It'll be from Madison. If something crazy happens, we might do a podcast the weekend before, but as of right now, we won't. So that'll be the next podcast. We're not at a brewery today, but of course we are drinking local beers.
Yes.
And I've got from Omni, we've been there numerous times. The first time we did a podcast at a brewery was Omni. Their new Malt Shop Milkshake IPA, Blueberry Pineapple. Now, I've had their previous one, and it was tasty. This one, a little bit too sweet for my tastes on the Milkshake IPA, but still a good Milkshake IPA.
I could see that. With citrus fruits, you get there's a little bit of sugar in those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've got, what is it, Broken Clock?
Yeah. This is the first beer I've ever had of theirs.
Oh.
It's the Unstable Unicorn, which is a blonde ale.
Nice.
And it's a really pretty smooth drinker.
Nice.
5.2% alcohol.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's a good beer to have after a night of bonfire, whiskey, more beer.
And you and I talked about this. There was a game last night, which we're going to talk about, with Houston. I was over here for a barbecue, over at Tom and Jan's house for a barbecue. I was ready to go home and watch the game. As we're leaving, the neighbors next door sent a picture to us and said, "Hey, bonfire, come on over." I said, "Nope, I got to watch the game." So everybody went to the bonfire. I watched the first half of the game. I said, well, maybe I'll go out just for the half. Well, the half turned into the whole time out there.
Right, yeah.
So I really didn't watch the second half. I got, kind of glimpses of it, but I wasn't watching the second half. And, we'll talk about, they did come away with a victory. So, and you went to the game yesterday.
I did, yeah.
And then decided after the game that you would go to a bonfire.
Right. It's impossible when I have to drive past my neighbor's house to pull into my driveway, and there's a fire there.
Yeah.
So I went inside, poured myself a glass of whiskey, walked over to the fire, and I said, well, I'm going to be here until this glass is empty. And that turned into another neighbor getting me some Jack Daniels.
Oh.
Because I was like, well, it emptied, and I'm like, if I go back inside, I'm not coming back. So they got up and took the glass to their house, got some Jack Daniels in it, and then brought it back. So then it turned into a glass of Jack Daniels, and it turned into so it was a glass of bourbon, glass of Daniels. Then it was a beer that I don't remember what it was, actually.
I wouldn't expect you to remember it after a couple of Jack Daniels and some bourbon.
It was...
Was it something good like Miller Lite?
It was not Miller Lite.
It was good. And I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Well, it's
That's
probably
weird.
That'd be good you don't remember what it was.
Yeah, and then it turned into another glass Jack. Mm-hmm. And then it was 1:30, and I said, no, I got to get going.
Yeah.
And then it was, well, I can't just go to bed after having 3 glasses of whiskey and beer. And so then it was me standing in the kitchen eating chips and Old Home dip until 2 a.m.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Jeez, I've done that before.
And then it was 2 a.m. going to bed and watching an episode of Modern Family.
Oh,
and
sure.
Then watching a second episode. So I actually, it was 2:45 by the time I went to bed.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, we're both here now. We drank last night, both of us pretty heavily. I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some of the last games. We have to talk about Chicago a little bit because we did the podcast last time before the game. We were super pumped for the game. I thought we were going to have a big win.
Right, yeah.
And we went in that game. It was cold.
Yes.
It was rainy.
Yes.
Chicago Stadium sucks.
Yes, there was no one there.
There was nobody there. And so we go into this game, and we just laid an egg.
Yeah.
I mean, we looked terrible.
I maintain it was the worst game we've had all season.
Yeah.
Even worse than the Toronto game that we lost 4-3. Yeah. I think it was a terrible game.
And Calvo played like the little ass hat that he is.
Yeah.
Kind of got into it with some guys, got into it DQ a little bit.
Yeah. You could tell there was some animosity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad game. And, when I named our podcast episode, I said it was mistakes.
Yes.
Because we were all wrong.
We were terribly wrong.
I mean, I was partially referencing the fact that I could not for the life of me get the goal scorer from Seattle correct. It was Christian Roldan, not but it was the picks too. I mean, we said that. I think all of us agreed that Calvo wasn't going to make it the whole game.
Yeah.
And then we all agreed that it was going to be a win, and it was going to be a big win. So we were wrong on every single thing,
every level,
including our guests. They were all wrong.
Yeah, everybody's wrong.
Yeah.
Although the Calvo talk with Jen was hilarious.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
that was fun.
And the Old Spice.
The Old Spice. We have to get her back in the pod again to talk about other players that she thinks smell good.
Right. Yeah. It's a little creepy in a way.
So we lost. We're not going to get into the formalities of it. It was a bad game all around.
Yeah.
It was cold. I will say a couple points about the stadium in general. It's in a bad location.
Right.
And I'm glad they're moving to technically Soldier Field next year.
Right.
What surprised me about that area, though, is they're trying to build that area up.
Yes.
There's a hotel going right next to the damn place.
Yep, and
now it's like they're leaving.
Yeah, you have to wonder, $65 million buyout, you have to think that some of that money's probably going to the developers that started doing stuff.
At least trying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key. But when we drove down there and I saw that hotel, I was like, that's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were still there, I'd stay in that hotel.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I'd be
Without
there.
doubt.
That'd be great. The other thing I want to talk about is and they're leaving this stadium, so it's not going to matter next time we go. But the Uber situation out of that stadium is a mess. Nels and I and Dave Stevens wanted to get an Uber back downtown. We called the Uber. We were told by 4 different security guards 4 separate areas to go to an Uber. And the second security guard told us, well, you're supposed to go over here, but Uber doesn't know this. They're supposed to know it, but they don't.
Okay.
So we ended up walking around in this area and and all this other crap. And then we ended up at this gas station in the corner. And finally our Uber guy found us. And he's like, yeah, I tried to get in here. I couldn't get in here. I couldn't get over here. It's like, this is just a nightmare. And I said, well, if I'd known it was going to be a nightmare, we would have walked like 2 blocks away.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though it's not the best neighborhood.
I was going to say it might not be the best idea.
And get an Uber from there. But it took us like half an hour to get to our Uber cab. It was ridiculous. And of course, it was cold.
And
it was
raining.
damp.
Yeah.
We didn't feel great. It'd been a long weekend. Nels and I, both of our bodies were like shutting down. Stevens was still, I want to do stuff. And he did. After we got back, he went and did stuff till like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Did he really?
He did.
Good God.
Me and Nels went to bed. We're like, we're done. Right.
I parked myself at the hotel bar and
see,
that's it.
We should have come back with you to the hotel bar.
Yeah.
And then got an Uber after a drink. That would have been fine. But we were all... But I will say the flight home was great. It was very... got through security really fast. The flight... I'll say this. I've been to Chicago numerous times driving. I will never drive again. I mean, the flights in and out are so much easier than sitting in a car for 7 or 8 hours. I mean, that's just... For me, it's...
Yeah. I might be with you on that. I know. I mean, I guess I don't really have reasons to go to Chicago other than Minnesota matches.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, 6.5 hours. I mean, I hit rush hour. I mean, I guess rush hour on a Sunday.
They have rush hour
was
every
weird.
time of the day. Yeah, it's weird.
And then, of course, Wisconsin is perpetual construction.
Yeah.
So it was just constant slow down, speed up. Mm-hmm. Then there was a section right, I don't know what it was, southeast of Eau Claire that was literally dead stopped.
Yeah.
And we had to do detours if you were smart enough to do it. And it was a little rough. But, one thing that happened to me, I was in the supporter section.
Yeah.
And they always hold the supporters back, the away supporters back.
Sure.
Just in case, some kerfuffle happens. Mm-hmm. Well, so we got held back like a half an hour, which is only supposed to be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And again, it was cold. It was damp.
Yeah.
We're standing on concrete. We can't move. Mm-hmm. And it was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was awful.
We had no problems in our front row seats.
I'm sure.
Which were nice. But it was funny because we could hear you guys up top chanting. And they had the kids out before the game. The kids out. And the kids, when you guys were chanting, were looking up there because they could hear you guys. And like, shut up! Shut up! United sucks! Shut up! I'm like, they can hear you on the field? That's fantastic.
Yeah, we were getting heckled by those kids.
I'm sure you were.
On the way into the stadium. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, we're getting heckled by, 12-year-olds.
That's Chicago, though.
Yeah.
That's Chicago. So I think Chicago, we're done with that. It was a great weekend. We had fun.
Yeah.
We did like I said, we went to the Cubs game. We had a good time there. Drank a lot.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
I drank less than you guys.
I know you did.
Significantly less.
And you saw the full force of what we get into on that Thursday night. So that was fun. But let's move on. The next game was it
Hertha?
Was it Hertha, or did we have another game before that?
No, it was.
Are you sure?
Did we?
Yeah, I think we had. Didn't we have? Was it Hertha or was it Columbus? Columbus.
Oh yeah, we did.
Last
have
Saturday.
Columbus.
We had
Good
Columbus.
God.
Yeah. Sterling, you're starting to have the yips a little bit.
I am.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're having the yips. So we
won.
We won, yes. And that was last Saturday.
Ethan Finley had the winning goal.
He had the winning goal, yep. And that was
only goal.
That was here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't. That was the game where you didn't go to that game.
I didn't go because it was shitty weather.
Because it was shitty weather.
Yeah.
I thought about going because tickets were so cheap because it was shitty weather.
Right.
Johnny went with his kid.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they showed up at D.C. at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
For a 7 o'clock game. I'm like, dude, what are you doing 4 hours before the game? I mean, come on, dude. But it was Finley got the goal. I don't really have a lot of notes from that game.
And now that you mention it, I completely forgot to pull up my notes for that game.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was a good game. Mm-hmm. I thought we were well organized in defense, which we have been, and I have notes on to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
It's good to see. I thought the movement of Miguel to left back made some sense. They were having issues. They noticed that was an issue in Chicago where Romaine was getting overpowered on the right.
Yep.
And people were starting to key on him because he's the best right back in the league, in my opinion. And they didn't have any answer in Miller.
Yeah.
No offense to Miller. He's just not an attacking player.
He's not, no.
And so we became very one-sided and we got shut down. Mm-hmm. And so Columbus, he decided to move Miguel over to left back. It allowed us to push forward a little bit more on the left side.
For one game, though.